Good evening. Good evening, the punctual ones, the most delightful ones who join us right on time. For then, the second Saturday, 4 p.m. webinar means that join us sharp at 4 p.m. So, three claps for all the punctual ones. But we are going to be compassionate towards the people who will join us in another 2 3 minutes, and we are going to wait for them. So, right after 2 minutes, we are going to start the webinar. Let's show some compassion to the people who miss the deadlines just by a few minutes or who join the webinar late only by a few minutes. I can see so many good evening messages in the webinar chat section, and it is wonderful to have all these lovely teachers, educators joining us. Uh, I'm going to first call, I think it is my duty to call out the first good evening message, and that was sent by Gitanjali Dogra ma'am, followed by Ramesh Sharma sir, Neeta ma'am, Anita ma'am, Spriya ma'am. So, all these lovely and punctual educators, welcome to the Burlington English webinar. In the next 1 hour, we are going to do a lot of things. And I don't want to spoil the surprise here. So, but before we get started, I think it is important for me to announce the house rules. All your queries, please put your queries in the chat section. I'm going to monitor the chat section, and so your queries, you can put it in the Q&A section, and I'm going to monitor that section. We're going to take those queries whenever the speaker allows us and gives us the time to take those queries. For the comments and response to the activities that you have been asked to respond to, kindly put your comments in the chat section. Both these sections will be monitored by me, and your comments and your questions will not go unnoticed. That I guarantee you. So, what are we waiting for? Welcome once again to the webinar The Brain Loves Rhythm. Welcome, Andrew, and over to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Lena. Good afternoon, everyone. I notice, interestingly, you said good evening. I say good afternoon. It's a cultural thing, even though it's the same time. Good afternoon, namaste from Kathmandu, where I am coming to you from today. And I'd be very interested to know where you are based this afternoon or this early evening, whichever you prefer. So, could you just type into the chat box, where are you? Are you in India? Outside India? I'd be really interested to know where all of you lovely participants are viewing from. And perhaps you could tell us when some answers start coming in, Lena.
Yeah, so Vaishali ma'am joined us from Bangalore. Anita ma'am again from Bangalore. We have Kiran ma'am from Mumbai. We have Ankita ma'am for Ajmer. We have people from Nosera, Kolkata, Hyderabad. Oh, many people are
Wow.
writing India.
Ah. Well, it looks like we've got people from all over the country, which is fabulous, and you're all very, very welcome. This is a webinar version of a workshop that I've done many, many times in various cities across India. So let's get on with it. First of all, because this workshop is all about using chants and songs in the classroom, Lena and I would like to start with a chant. And I'll say something before we do this first chant. Feel free to join in wherever you are. You might get some strange looks from people in the room with you, but it'll be quite good fun. Here's the chant. And what you should do with any chant that you're going to use is, first of all, count the students in. So you need to begin with 1, 2, 3, 4. And the second thing you should always do is model the chant before you ask the students to produce the language. So I'll model the chant once, and then Lena's going to join in with me the second time, because this is a call and response chant. And it goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice to meet you. 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 I'm so glad to meet you. Thank you. I'm glad to meet you. Okay, so that's the model. What you might do here if you were using this in a classroom is to point out the different sentence stress in the call and the response. So in the call, we have nice to meet you. But in the response, we have nice to meet you. So the stress is very different. This is one of the things we're going to be talking about in this webinar. But let's do the chant to start us off, because it is very nice to virtually meet all of you. So Lena, you're in red, I'm in black. Are you ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Nice to meet you. Nice to
Nice
meet.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm so glad to meet you.
Thank you. I'm glad to meet you.
Excellent. Now, I don't know if we were in synchronization over Zoom, but that's an example of a call and response chant to start us off. Let's think about, hopefully, what we are going to learn in this webinar. I've got 3 questions on the screen there. I won't talk about them because you can read them, because there they are. So have a look at those. Hopefully, in about 45 minutes' time, you will be able to answer all of those questions quite easily. So I'll give you 30 seconds just to have a look at those questions. While you're having a look, I'll just say that this is an example of one way of making learning visible, which is something I know Burlington do in one of their grammar books. Very useful. Making learning visible is important so that the children know what they're doing. The other thing that you may want to make very clear at the start of any lesson is what the success criteria are. Your success criteria today are that you can answer those questions. So with these questions here, I've got the topic that we're looking at and your success criteria. Can you answer them? I think both of those 2 elements are really quite important for any class that you're teaching. Okay, so I'm going to begin by talking just for a couple of minutes about the research, and then I'll give you a link that you can scan if you want to find out more. But the current research shows that prosody is a really very, very important part of conveying meaning and emotion and nuance in language. Prosody is word stress, sentence stress, the rhythm and the intonation of the spoken language. That is prosody. And interestingly, in early development, when children are very, very young, they can differentiate between different languages based on the rhythm and the prosody. So if you had a very young infant in a room with a Russian speaker, an English speaker, and a Hindi speaker, say, the infant would know that those 3 people were speaking different languages, just from the prosody. So prosody is very important in the language learning process. Another reason that prosody is important is that it gives us clues, cues, if you like, to the grammar and syntax of a sentence or a chunk of language. It helps us to predict grammatical patterns. We get that prediction ability from the rhythm. And I think this is because in our brains, the area that processes music and the area that processes language are very close to each other, almost next to each other, and they have some overlap. And the overlap is the part that processes rhythm. And recent studies have shown that children and young people who have a developed rhythmic ability are far better at language acquisition. So that's the research. That's why we chose this as a topic for a webinar. And if you want to read more about that research, you can scan this code and additional information is there. So I'll give you a moment or 2 to scan that code. And then we will move on. Okay. So, first thing we need to know about prosody then, if we're talking about prosody, is that English is a stress-timed language. Unlike the majority of the languages in the Indian subcontinent, which are syllable-timed. Syllable-timed languages have fairly regular and equal beats, whereas stress-timed languages like English and German, they have strong beats and weak beats. Let's look at an example of how that works. Feel free to join in with the chant if you wish. Now, if you're in class, and you're doing chants, I would advise getting yourself a shaker of some kind. Unfortunately, we've established that it doesn't sound great over Zoom, so I'm not going to use it now. But you want to start a rhythm. This is a very simple chant. I'm going to do the chant once, and then I'll ask you, if you wish, to join in. So we'll do it twice, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'd like you to type your answers in the chat box if you can answer those questions. So let's do the chant. Here's the first time. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Dog, cat, fish, duck. A dog, a cat, a fish, a duck. A dog and a cat and a fish and a duck. A dog and then a cat and then a fish and then a duck. A dog and an otter, a cat and an otter, a fish and an otter, a duck. Okay. Now if you want to join in, we'll do it one more time. So do join in if you wish. I won't be able to hear you, but I can imagine you and all the funny looks you'll be getting. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dog, cat, fish, duck. A dog, a cat, a fish, a duck. A dog and a cat and a fish and a duck. A dog and then a cat and then a fish and then a duck. A dog and an otter, a cat and an otter, a fish and an otter, a duck. Okay, so that was the chant. Here are your questions, and I'd like you to type your answers into the chat box. And Lena, perhaps you can tell us what people are saying. Here's the first question. How many times did you clap for each line?
4
Yes,
by all of
absolutely.
them.
Of course, it was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Was the length of each line the same or different?
Different.
Yes, it was completely different, wasn't it? Which words were the clearest and easiest to hear in each line?
Devi ma'am said dog.
Yeah.
Nouns. Somebody said, Rutuja ma'am said cat, dog.
Yes.
Vanda ma'am said names of the animal.
Yes, the names of the animals. The dog, the cat, the fish, and the duck. They were clearest in each of the lines. And which words fall on the weak beats? So we've said dog, cat, fish, duck. They fall on the strong beats because they were the clearest. So which words fell on the weak beats?
Malini ma'am said then, after. A lot of teachers are saying after, then,
Yeah,
and then after.
all of those little words, we can call them grammar words or function words. Yeah, all of those fell on the weak beats. And that's because in a stress-timed language, like English, the content words, the words with the most important meaning, fall on the strong beats, and the words that are there functionally to knit the sentence together, those are the ones that fall on the weak beats. And notice the pause between the first line, dog, pause, cat, pause, fish, pause, duck. That's the same length as the pause in the last line. And so what happens to all of those function words? They get shoved together, so they sound nothing like what they do when said individually. In that last line, we are not saying a dog and then after a cat. No. We're saying a dog and an uffera, which sounds nothing like and then after a. So we're squishing those words together. And if you want to produce a stress time language or understand a stress time language, students need to be aware that this is what happens to functional words in normal spoken English. Chants and songs can really help them with that. So, another question for you. There are many good reasons for using chants and songs in the classroom. Can you try and think of one and type it into the chat box, please? Why is it a good idea to use chants and songs with children of all ages?
Anjali ma'am is telling us that it is to break the ice for rhythm. That's what Bhuvneshwari ma'am, Krishna ma'am said. Gagandeep ma'am is saying children can register better, appreciate. The teachers are saying grabbing attention, coordination, concentration, sound modulation. It stays in mind longer, transition, help to memorize. I mean,
All of
it's
these things,
many.
yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
All of these. I've got a
response.
list here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I think most of them have been covered. Yeah, to capture and hold attention. I think
yeah.
did someone mention routines? You can build them into your class routine, like especially with younger children, pre-primary and primary. You can build chants into your daily routine in the classroom. They build confidence because everyone's chanting at the same time. So it doesn't matter if you miss a word or mispronounce a word because everyone's doing it. No one can hear you. So they do help to build spoken confidence. And they also support mixed ability learners. Chants are a great leveler. You can do them with classes that have different English language levels in them. They help students with prosody, as you said. Also, I think this is something important, which I don't know if anyone mentioned, that they create a sense of community and belonging in the classroom, everyone chanting or singing together. And of course, in most cultures, chanting and singing is something that we humans have been doing for thousands and thousands of years. So it really does help to create that sense of classroom community. Also, you mentioned that we can use it to practice and introduce structures, grammar, lexis, vocabulary, makes them easier to remember, which indeed it does. Because you can use everyday language in chants, like that nice to meet you, that's a piece of everyday language, you can present language in context. And of course, if we want children to remember language, they need to repeat it. So chants provide good opportunities for repetition. So all of these are excellent reasons for using chants and songs with people of all ages. Okay, 3 golden rules before we start looking at some more chants and songs. They should be simple, they should be repetitive, and if possible, especially with kids, younger kids, actions and movement. But even with older children, teenagers and adults, actions and movement can be useful because not only does the brain love rhythm, the brain loves movement as well. And if you can associate a rhythm and a movement with a word or a piece of grammar, it's simply going to make it stick in your mind much more easily. We can't really go on looking at chants without mentioning this woman, my guru, Carolyn Graham. Carolyn must be in her late 90s now. She used to be a professor at New York University, and in the evening she was a piano player in a jazz band. And she noticed at some point in the 1970s that the rhythm of traditional American jazz, 1, 2, 3, 4, had many, many similarities to the rhythm of natural spoken English. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. They both got a 4/4 rhythm. And she exploited this and created the jazz chant. And a lot of the chants and songs that we use in modern classrooms are really thanks to the innovations of Carolyn Graham. So in tribute to her, let us do one of her chants. And it's got some actions that go with it. This is best done in pairs. I just want to show you how simple Carolyn's chants are. So do look them out on YouTube or other places on the internet if you can. This one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, I like you. 1, 2, I like you. 1, 2, 3, you like me and I like you. I don't know if you could see my actions there, if they were caught by the camera or not, but it's got 1-2 actions and a nice heart shape there for I like you. So that's an example of a very simple chant, very easy to write for yourself. We're going to talk about writing our own chants now. And let's first think about pre-primary and early primary, because I think you can use similar sorts of chants and songs with both of these age groups. I like to start off the lesson with a chant. I like to, if I've got pre-primary or very young learners coming into my classroom, I like to get them speaking English before the lesson even starts. And a good way to do that is to teach them a chant and then to use it again and again and again. So you might teach them this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your books on the table. Put your books on the table. Put your books on the table and your pencil case. Put your books on the table. Put your books on the table. And you just keep them chanting that until everyone has their books on the table and their pencil cases, or whatever you want it to be. And the beauty of this is that they've started speaking English, natural English, before you have even begun the lesson. So that's a good way to get children into class using a chant. Also, if you want to teach them vocabulary, you might want to use something like this. Now, we're going to look at a number of ways of using songs in this webinar. This is the first one, and a little bit later on, I'll tell you how easy it is to actually create your own song using a familiar melody. But let's have a look at a few songs first. Imagine your new word today is blue. Rather than just saying blue, you might want to do something like this. The new word today is blue, 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 blue. The new word today is blue, blue, blue. Let's say it now. Blue! Okay. Oh, there it comes again. No. So, there we go. So very simple, yeah? Presenting new vocabulary in a way that's fun, builds a sense of community, and is joyful. So that's just introducing one word. I've got a question for you now. Please type your answer in the chat box. How could you adapt that song or make it more complex? What could you do? What are people saying, Lena?
They're sending heart signs to you.
How lovely.
Teaching new words. Rashmi ma'am said that we can adapt it to teach new words.
Yeah, you could add more words.
Soumya ma'am said that by using different tunes, vocabulary, new sentences. Rajni Priya ma'am is saying that, I can say it fast and slow, act and dance, and maybe add more
Yeah, all of these
adjectives.
are great. All of these are great. Yeah. And yeah, the simplest way to make it more complex is just to add in some more words. So instead of blue, we've got red, blue, green. So it would go like this. The new words today are red, blue, green, red, blue, green, red, blue. You get the idea. You get the idea. You can just add in more words, change up the tune. Also, you could use it not just for words, but for sounds. Here's one I like to use with the sh sound. I would just say about teaching sounds, if you do teach sounds, make sure that you produce the correct sound and insist on the students producing the correct sound. For example, I've heard teachers say sh instead of sh. It's not sh, it's sh. Same like the letter M, it's not m. So insist on the correct sounds, and this one is sh. And you can use the same song. Maybe you want to get some movement in here, get the children shaking their hands like this. Oh, hang on, let me go back to the beginning. Here we go. The new sound today is sh, sh, sh. Shake, 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 shake. The new sound today is sh, sh, sh. Let's say it now. Shh. For example. So, very simple ways to use songs to teach sounds and new words. Once they've learned a new word, you may want to focus on some spelling. So I've got a simple spelling chant to share with you. And this again is a call and response chant. So I'll ask Lena to join in. Initially, the teacher would take the part in red. But once your children know the chant and they're well familiar with it because you've done it many times, one of the children could take over the part in red. Let's just do it together. Lena, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm thinking of a word that starts with a D.
How many letters?
1, 2, 3. It starts with a D and ends with a G.
I know the answer. D-O-G.
Excellent. Okay. And of course, you can make that interactive by doing something like this. Here, the person in red needs to choose one of the pictures, a cat or a hat or a bat or a rat, and then you substitute those different words into the spelling chant, spelling them out. So I'm thinking of a word that starts with a C. How many letters? 1, 2, 3. It starts with a C and ends with a T. I know the answer, C-A-T. So you can turn that into a simple game. Even if you don't have a PowerPoint, you could do this with a whiteboard. So spelling chants are very good for remembering spellings, especially of short 3-4 letter words. Of course, chants are also very good for classroom management. If the children are walking around the classroom or doing some activity or even just coming in, I often use this with young children. We all just start singing it. I teach them it in one lesson, and then when I want them to sit down, I just start singing it, and then they just start singing it. It just goes, everybody sit down, sit down, sit down. Everybody sit down now. Everybody sit down, sit down, sit down. Everybody sit down now. And you just continue to sing it until everyone is sitting down. Works very nicely. Here's a good one, similar thing, getting attention, maybe at the end of a lesson or the end of an activity. And I learned this very recently from a wonderful lady called Farry Greenaway as part of the MET Spotlight series. And it's, again, a call and response between teacher and student. So Lena, perhaps you could be the student. I say macaroni cheese and you have to say everybody freeze. Then I say hands on top. And I would get all of the students to put their hands on their heads. Everybody stop. Zip it. Lock it. Put it in your pocket. Okay, and this is a very amusing way of getting the students to stop what they're doing and focus the attention on you. So let's just do it once, Lena.
Yes.
Macaroni cheese.
Everybody freeze.
Hands on top.
Everybody stop.
Oh, sorry, we went to go like that. Hands on top.
No, sorry.
Zip it. Lock it.
Put it in your pocket.
Excellent. Okay, so that's a nice way to get everyone to focus at the end of an activity or the end of a lesson. Another one for the end of a lesson, and again, this is similar to the everybody sit down, sit down, sit down. I just start singing this. When I want them to tidy up, put everything away, get ready for the end of the lesson, I just start singing this, maybe with some music, and we just keep singing it until everyone has finished. So let me play you the song. This is the way we tidy up, tidy up, tidy up. This is the way we tidy up and put our things away. This is the way we tidy up, tidy up, tidy up. This is the way we tidy up and put our things away. And so you continue until everyone has tidied up and put their things away. So another example of how you can use a simple melody. We'll talk more about exactly how you can do that in a moment. Okay, let's move on then to think about how you can use chants and songs with older children. And I would use the same formula to create songs and chants for mid to late primary all the way up to adults. You do the same thing. And as I said, as I keep saying, chants can be used with people of all ages. You just adapt the theme, the complexity and the language. So let's have a look at vocabulary chants. And with vocabulary chants and songs, all you really need to do is very simple. You select a topic, you think of the words or the structures that you want to teach associated with that topic, and then you have to count the number of syllables. And as we'll look at later, if you're doing a song, you need to think about the sentence stress as well. But for vocabulary chants, you only need to count the number of syllables and then choose a rhythmic pattern. So a very nice rhythmic pattern. I'm going to have a look at two nice rhythmic patterns here. You can find your own. But do decide what the rhythmic pattern is before you write the chant. Here we've got 2, 3, 1. So 2 syllables, bass, ball. 3 syllables, basket, ball. And 1 syllable, golf. And that gives you a very musical sounding chant. 1, 2, 3, 4. Baseball, basketball, golf. Baseball, basketball, golf. Baseball, basketball, baseball, basketball, baseball, basketball, golf. Very nice, very musical. And as you can see, it's not just for younger children teaching vocabulary. If I'm teaching academic writing to teenagers, I might use this chant. Increase, fluctuate, slump. Increase, fluctuate, slump. Increase, fluctuate, increase, fluctuate, increase, fluctuate, slump. And you can get some arm movement going on in there as well. You might want to go increase, fluctuate, slump. So you can get the teenagers moving their arms. So you add a bit of movement to make it even more memorable. Here's another beautiful pattern. I think this is my favorite. 3 syllables, 2 syllables, 2 syllables, 1 syllable. And here we've got bicycle, that's 3 syllables. Yo-yo and jump rope, that's American for skipping rope. And ball. And this one goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Bicycle, yo-yo, jump rope, ball. Bicycle, yo-yo, jump rope, ball. Bicycle, yo-yo, bicycle, yo-yo, bicycle, yo-yo, jump rope, ball. So, just by adding that rhythm makes it more memorable, creates community, joy, and makes it easier to remember that vocabulary. And you can do it with more advanced vocabulary as well. Monument, castle, temple, fort. Monument, castle, temple, fort. Monument, castle, monument, castle, monument, castle, temple, fort. So it doesn't matter what the vocabulary is, it's the rhythm and counting the syllables that's important. And you can add in some grammar. What I often do with this is a clapping game. Clapping game is a very good thing to do with a chant. For this, I might do 1, 2, clap, clap, right, clap, left, clap. 1, 2, clap, clap, right, clap, left, clap. So students are doing that with a partner, and at the same time, they're chanting, he plays baseball, she plays basketball, they play golf. They play golf. He plays baseball, she plays basketball, they play golf, and so on and so on. So turn the whole thing into a clapping game while at the same time practicing the present simple. And this is a particularly good way to deal with grammar for those children who have real difficulties with getting their heads around the grammar explanations that you often find in course books and grammar books. Gets them practicing the grammar and remembering the grammar in a very natural way. You can also use a similar rhythm for teaching collocation. Collocation is two words that sit together, a chunk of language, a small chunk of language. For example, we can have an ancient monument, but we cannot have an aged monument. Although ancient and aged mean very, very similar things, aged is used to describe people, whereas ancient can be people or monuments. Yeah? So that's collocation, words that fit together. And chants are very good for remembering those collocations. This can help with not only speaking, but remembering them for academic writing as well. So this one would be ancient monument, sacred temple, massive fort, massive fort. Ancient monument, sacred temple, massive fort, massive fort. So very, very easy to write and to practice. Take 1 or 2 minutes of your classroom time and make those words and collocations very memorable. Also, you can use them for antonyms. Again, this is for older children. Same pattern. Increase, decrease, fluctuate, stabilize, rocket, slump, and so on. Very easy to create your own chants, provided you've got the rhythm and you're counting the number of syllables. Now, even if you're teaching quite a long lexical set, simply by adding an interesting rhythm to it, you can make those repetition drills far more memorable and interesting. So this one is a particularly good rhythm that I think is pretty groovy, and I use this for lexical sets all the time. And once you've got that rhythm that works and you like, you can just recycle it with different vocabulary. So this one would go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There you go. So that makes it much more enjoyable, much more fun. Here's another one, just to show you how simple it is. You might ask the students to have a look out of the classroom window and say to them, what's the weather like? I'm going to look out of my window. I can see the hills around the Kathmandu Valley, and it's a bit cloudy. So for my chant, I would do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cloudy today, it's cloudy today. Cloudy today, it's cloudy today. Sunny, windy, rainy, snowy, no, it's cloudy today. So just by putting a bit of rhythm, thinking about syllables, you can create a very engaging chant, which is going to be memorable for your learners. Okay, that last one, that's the same pattern as the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday one. Patience, kindness, goodwill, warmth, affection, but obviously it's with more advanced vocabulary. And this is vocabulary that I would use with students who are studying Shakespeare. In fact, this is from a recent class that I did over the summer on Macbeth. That was our lexical set, but then we started looking at Lady Macbeth. This was the initial chant for the character sketch. Now, I've used Lady Macbeth. You can use any character in any story. Just think about the syllables, think about the rhythm, the number of beats per line, and then you can create a simple character sketch which will be very memorable. This one goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lady Macbeth, cruel and two-faced, ambitious, Ambitious Lady Macbeth, hard and ruthless, ridden with guilt, ridden with guilt. Very, very simple, very memorable. And then you could put it all together, make sure that your students understand the character of Lady Macbeth with this simple song, which I'm going to ask Lena to join in. Are you ready to sing, Lena?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now I'm going to be asking the questions, but you could also get your students to ask the questions and give the responses. You could mix it up a bit, but this is a very simple way to do it. So let's see. You just need to answer my questions, Lena. Is that okay with you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, here we go. Is she patient?
No, she isn't.
Is she ruthless?
Yes, she is.
Is she merciful?
No, she isn't.
Is she heartless?
Yes, she is.
Is she timid?
No, she isn't.
Is she two-faced?
Yes, she
Is
is.
she good-hearted?
She
Is she
isn't.
ambitious?
Yes,
Is she kindly?
she is. She isn't.
Is she crazy?
Yes, she is.
Excellent. I don't know if we were in sync, but it was quite good fun. So very easy to find a melody that you remember perhaps from your childhood. That's one I remember from my childhood. And make a simple call and response song to teach older children about characters in plays and literature. So let's look then, as promised, at how you adapt a song. Well, first of all, you need to select a topic or a language function, same as you do with a vocabulary chant. Then you need to think of a melody that you are familiar with, hopefully one that the children are familiar with too. I don't use the melodies necessarily that I've been using here today. They may not be appropriate to your classroom culture or your children. And then you need to match the syllables and the stress. So let's have a look at how we do that. We start off with our language function. So I've got the structure. My favourite something is something. For example, my favourite colour is yellow, for example. So my favourite something is something. That's our language function. Now, you always need to start with the language function, yes, because you need to think about your learning outcomes first before you think about how to reach them. So I've picked the tune of My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. I don't know if you know this one. It goes, well, I'll sing it to you. I'll sing you a little bit of it. I remember this from my childhood. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie... That's enough. That's enough of that. That was the original song. So I remember that from my childhood. I've picked that song. First thing I need to do is to count the syllables. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. That's 9 syllables. So whatever line I replace it with must also have 9 syllables. Then I want to think about the stress. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. So I want the stress in those 3 places to match the original song, so it fits to the tune. And I've got my favourite colour is yellow. Is that 9 syllables? Yes, it is. Does the stress match? Yes, it does. So that's what you need to do with each line. Match the number of syllables and match the word stress or the sentence stress. Okay, so let's see the song that results from that. And I'm going to sing it to Lena. This is a lovely song. This always makes, whenever I do this in class, and I've done this with young children, I've done this with adults, everyone always smiles because it brings a bit of joy and love. So I'm going to sing it to Lena. You can sing it to someone who you like or love in the room where you are if you want. I'll leave that up to you. Here we go. I'm going to sing it to you, Lena. My favorite color is yellow. My favorite number is 2. My favorite flavor is chocolate. And my favorite person is you. Lena, Lena, my favorite person is you. It's you! Lena, Lena, my favorite person is you. So it's as easy as that to create a lovely song. I hope you liked that, Lena. You are one of my favourite persons.
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Okay, so let's have a look at one last one before we finish. And I'd like you to have a go at this. This is the backpack chant. It's one of Carolyn Graham's. And what you need to do is think about what could go into that text in pink. At the moment it says textbooks, copybooks, etc. So what I do with this is we do the chant a couple of times with the students. And then I ask them to look into their bags or their backpacks and replace that second verse with the real contents of their backpack. I did this recently in Delhi with a group of teachers, and we had a handbag that we were looking into, and I think the list of things was something like makeup, iPhone, tissues, that type of thing, rather than school things. But let's see what you come up with. I'm going to ask you to do this in a moment, but let me first of all demonstrate the chant. It goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Backpack, backpack, what's in your backpack? What's in your backpack? Lots of things. Textbooks, copybooks, paperclips, folders, pens and pencils, keys on a ring. Backpack, backpack, what's in your backpack? What's in your backpack? Everything. So that's the chant. What I'd like you to do, if you can, I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this. I can't give you more because we'll run out of time. But I'd like you to try and replace the words in that second verse. The rhythm you have to get is dum 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 da da dum 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 dum. Okay? So it'll be 2 syllables. Dum dum. For example, iPhone. Yeah, so a 2-syllable word. Think about the syllables, think about the rhythm. Let me give you a couple of minutes, and if you've got any good ones, then I'll perform them in a couple of minutes' time. So just type your ideas into the chat box. You've got a couple of minutes to write a new verse to Carolyn's chant. And this, of course, is an activity that you can do with your classes. Maybe it's a big ask to come up with that much text in such a short amount of time. Let's see. I'll give you a couple of minutes. It's getting dark here already, so while you're thinking, I'm going to go and put the light on, and I'll be right back. Okay, is anything coming into the chat box now,
Yeah,
Lena?
yeah. So there's Vibhuti ma'am, and she has written crayons, drawing books, slates, and papers. So there are
Okay,
two teachers who have written star and 5 stars. uh,
okay,
uh, Puzzle, beads, textbook, papers book. I think they're just writing individual
all
items.
right. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you get the idea, yeah? You're very easy to produce that. Oh, we've got a nice one here from... Oh, it's disappeared. How do you keep it in the
No,
same
it's
place?
Rajni Priya. It's Rajni Priya, ma'am. I think, oh,
Rajni
books,
Priya
my books.
Nair, yes.
Yeah. Oh, books,
So she's
my
got
books.
oh books, my books, tiffins, tins and Excellent. Lovely. Thank you very much, Rajani Priya, for that. Lovely. Okay. So that's an example of how easy it is to adapt to whatever you happen to be doing. Let's move on. I said that was the last one, but in fact I've noticed we've got one last one. And this is an example of how you can use a chant, or in this case a song, to reinforce a rubric or a set of guidelines, whatever you call it. Now, when I first introduced the topic of writing academic essays to my students, for some reason, well, I don't know, many reasons, they have great difficulty in remembering structure, which is simply introduction, main body, which can consist of however many paragraphs the essay question demands, and then a conclusion. And remembering those three elements, I think, is key when you're introducing the topic of academic writing to students. And so to help them remember it, whenever they get it wrong, to sing, I came up with this song, which is another way that you can use a simple tune. Introduction, 1 paragraph. Main body, 2 paragraphs, or 3 or 4 or 5 paragraphs. 1 paragraph conclusion. Introduction, 1 paragraph. Main body, 2 paragraphs, or 3 or 4 or 5 paragraphs. 1 paragraph conclusion. And so use that to introduce it, and whenever any of your students get it wrong, you can start singing it again to reinforce it. Okay, so finally then, let's think about how all of this fits into Kolb's experiential learning cycle. Now, without going into any detail, you can see I've highlighted experiential there. That's from the NEP 2020. And I've highlighted it here. These are from the National Curriculum Frameworks. So the education authorities in India think this is really important. I would agree with them. And, you as teachers need to be thinking, is it experiential? Well, that chant that we just did, yes, it is experiential learning. We've got the concrete experience, which Kolb calls doing, and we did the chant. That's the experience. What we didn't do are the next 2 stages, but this is what you should do if you're using a chant or song: reflective observation. This is as simple as saying, what words do you remember from the chant? What words did you find easy to pronounce, difficult to pronounce? Just getting the children to think about what they just did, even if it's only for a couple of minutes. Then you might want to probe into the language a bit more deeply. Oops, sorry about that. Probe into the language a bit more deeply. And this is the thinking, understanding stage of Kolb's cycle. So you might say, which words rhyme? Which words have 2 syllables? Which words have 3 syllables? Things like that, getting them to analyse the language. That covers stage 3. And then in that backpack chant, by asking the children to write a new verse, what's really in your backpack, that's the active experimentation stage, adding something new. So, chants and songs neatly cover all of those 4 things. They're quick, they're easy, so I would advise you to use them in your classrooms. And if you want to read more, about how Kolb's learning cycle fits with the use of songs and chants, you can scan that barcode that's on the screen now. So hopefully you've had time to scan that. I'll leave it there for another few seconds. And we're back to our questions that we looked at about 45 minutes ago. I'm not going to ask you to type anything, but have a look at them again and think about whether you could answer them or not. Do you remember why using rhythm makes language learning easier and more effective? Can you remember what I said at the start about prosody and language acquisition? Do you remember how to create songs and chants? It's all about counting syllables and planning a rhythm and sticking to it. Thinking about stress and intonation. And how does it fit into experiential learning? Well, I've just told you that. So hopefully you can still remember that. I'm sure you knew anyway, without me having to tell you. Okay, so that's the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for participating. But before we go, we've got a couple of other things to say, so I'll just hand over to you now, Lena.
All right. So, all the lovely educators out there, we have some very exciting news for you all. Coming soon. Can you guess what is coming soon? Answers in the chat section, please. Can you guess what is coming soon? Oh, don't worry, Anita ma'am. I'm going to tell you. We are
Christmas is
going.
coming soon. Another session, another webinar.
So there are two new sessions that are coming soon, which will focus, which will bring to your notice the activities for writing and speaking that can be done. How many of you have attended the Brain Loves Rhythm workshop? Have you ever attended the Brain Loves Rhythm workshop that we did in your city? How many of you? Oh, there are a few yeses that I can
There are a
see.
few yeses, yes.
And there are a
There are a
few
few
no's.
no's, a few yeses
Yeah.
and a few no's.
No's. Yeah. So the good news is that we are coming out with two new modules in this series, the Brain Loves Rhythm workshops. And you have to get in touch with the local sales representative of Burlington Group if you want these musical chant based workshops to happen in your city. It was so much fun when we did it virtually. It is going to be super duper fun when we do it in person in your city or in your school. So, how about you get in touch with our Burlington English School representative? But Andrew, can you tell us a little bit more about these two sessions?
Yes, yeah. So these two sessions. They're not webinars, as Lena said. They're live sessions. We'll come and do them in your city or at your school. So let me tell you a bit. Oh, there's that's an AI picture. I was quite pleased with that. It's to illustrate this question. You don't need to answer it, but I wanted to answer this question. Why do we need a new approach to communicative language teaching? I'm sure you've all heard of communicative language teaching. I think Littlewood said it well when he said that a recurrent comment about communicative language teaching is that nobody really knows what it is. We all talk about using the communicative approach, but what really is it? My friend Louisa calls it the spaghetti approach. I don't know if you've heard this, but in Europe, to know if your spaghetti is cooked, you take a small piece and you throw it against the wall. And if it sticks, the spaghetti is cooked. And if it doesn't stick, the spaghetti is not cooked. And my friend Louisa likened the communicative approach to this. You try something and you don't find out until after you've done it whether it works or not. And I think that modern language teaching deserves a bit more of a pragmatic and professional approach. And so these two sessions that we're going to present in 2026 are based on the principal communicative approach. And this takes all the best bits of the communicative approach about how to teach language content, and it mixes them with recent advances in the science, in the psychology of learning and second language acquisition. And so we can prove, if you like, that it works, whereas that's virtually impossible to do with the traditional communicative approach. And the principal communicative approach specifies 7 criteria for success, and these are the things that we need to be integrating into our classroom practice to ensure that language acquisition takes place effectively. I'm not going to talk about them now, but these are the things that we're going to be looking at. Not the theory, but how do you design short, effective classroom language activities which incorporate these principles? So that's what they're about, Lena.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Do you want me to say more about the individual workshops?
Yes, that would be lovely. I think it'll give an idea when teachers are reaching out to our representatives, then they can tell them which workshop they would prefer
Okay, well, we've
first.
got two. The
Yes.
first one's called Speak Up, and it's basically a collection of speaking activities. It's about how you can create speaking activities for preschoolers, pre-primary, primary, middle school, secondary, teenagers, yeah? How you can create speaking activities, but not just any old speaking activities. How you can use this principled communicative approach to create those speaking activities. And make sure that they're communicative, that they help the children to communicate in the real world outside the classroom. Also, I'll be just showing you very briefly how that aligns with what the NEP 2020 wants you to do and what the national curriculum frameworks want you to do. So there's one on speaking, and there's a second one on writing. How can you use this principle communicative approach to teach writing within the process writing process? Again, it's mainly idea based, so you'll come away with lots of ideas for things to do in the classroom. And also, interestingly, you'll be thinking about how you can use singing, chanting, performance, poetry to develop writing skills as well as speaking skills. So they'll be all singing, all dancing. Good time to be had by all, no doubt. So if you like to clap and sing and chant, do try and attend one of these workshops in 2026. Thanks, Lena.
Uh, Thank you, Andrew, for the wonderful session and also to give some insight into the two new modules that we're adding up in our The Brain Loves Rhythm workshop series. So, the lovely educators out there, this is your chance to reach out to us and register your interest for these workshops to happen in your school or in your city. It's going to be so much fun. Have a great evening, everyone, and we are now signing out. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye. Namaste from Kathmandu. Have a lovely evening. Bye bye.